What is up, guys? Snow's here, and this is your boot sequence live. Hopefully, hopefully everything's good. It looks like everything's good. What's up, guys? Enlightened Effects, David Crayford, Edon Rom, one of the day ones, and Tonka Toy Truck. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So this is Boot Sequence Live. We're actually going to do a news piece at the start for probably the first maybe 15 minutes, discuss what's in the news, and then we're going to move on to something like a Q&A / an update of what's happening here on this channel. So without further ado, hopefully the sound is fine. I tested it for a while, so everything should be good. But as usual, what's up, guys? I'm Snows, and this is your Boot Sequence. And I'm going to roll an intro right now for you.
Rolling them dices, I love it, I love it. I'm rolling them dices, I love it, I love it.
All right, so let's get started with Intel this time, not the usual AMD. Our first subject is Intel's Rocket Lake. Just to round up the rumors that we've had so far, we know that Rocket Lake is a 14 nanometer CPU. Once again, so 14 nanometer plus, except that it's not based on Skylake. It's actually based on the next generation Tiger Lake Willow Cove, I believe, and it's basically backported from the 10 nanometer architecture up to 14 nanometers. So completely, or at least partially different architecture. And we thought for a while that it would be released this year, at the end of this year. Believe it or not, it just makes sense for Intel because right now they're kind of struggling. So pushing out something as new as possible, as soon as possible, was probably their best bet. Well, it turns out that we're not going to see Rocket Lake take off this year at all. And I mean really at all. So let's take a look at the actual article. Oh, that's a snowception. All right, so as you can see here, this is a slide that was, I believe, taken from basically a partner meeting from Intel. And as you can see, the products that amplify enthusiast performance, you can see the X and the S series, both of which are desktop parts. X is the X299, you know, with the 10980XE that was released late last year. And the S series is the desktop that everybody knows, you know, the 10900K or 10900 if you're that kind of person. Basically, as you can see here, this is the whole of 2020, and the S series don't have Rocket Lake, but more interestingly, neither does the X. Now, it's not uncommon for a company to just, you know, not have an update for 12 months. Like, it could be on Q1 of 2021, and that would be fine. But for Intel, especially with how, you know, the 3950X is destroying their top-of-the-line X299 CPU, it's kind of a scary thing. I hope they jump straight onto 10 nanometer at that point when they do release their next CPU, because it doesn't really make sense to have a backport of Rocket Lake in the X series from now on. So right now, let's jump into questioning. What do you guys think about that specifically? Let me take a look at the comments. And did everything break? No, everything's fine. Yeah, everything's fine. All right, so what do you guys think of this? Does it make sense for Intel? I'm pretty sure it does. I honestly think they're going to completely skip Rocket Lake, at least for the X series. And for the S, they're going to go ahead and use that 14 nanometers again. It always felt weird to me that they do a 14 nanometer refresh just to add PCIe 4 later this year. That's actually, you're absolutely right. That's actually what they plan on doing. Rocket Lake S will support PCIe Gen 4. As you can see, right, hold on, you should be able to see it. Oh, it's not on that page. So which one was it on? Basically, we had a diagram of the 500 chipset, which is weird because that would be a new motherboard, but the 500 chipset does support PCIe 4.0, and the 400 chipset should still support PCIe Gen 4. We've seen a lot of motherboard boxes for the 400 series that had PCIe 4.0 grade material used in the motherboard, which basically means it's going to be compatible. Let's take a look at another one. Oh, Eber, we have Eber here in the house. What up, Eber? How you doing? I'm doing great. I haven't cleaned my PC yet, so don't yell at me next time you see it. Only FTL? Don't do that. Don't do that, people. AMD equals king. They definitely are. Yes, but it's a stretch. They will come out with 8 nanometers soon. You know, something that's kind of been bounced around is AMD. That was before, but AMD could have gone from 7 nanometers, just the regular 7 nanometers they used for, I believe, the 3000 series. Yeah, of course, that's what they did. They could have jumped from 7 to 6 nanometers right away. Without changing anything in their architecture, and benefited from basically like an overclock and everything, because apparently the 6 nanometer process from TSMC, I'm not sure if it's N6 or N6P or plus. Anyways, that specific process was a drop-in upgrade. Basically, you take what you have and you basically just shrink it a little bit. So it's basically like 6 nanometer plus, but apparently the 7 nanometer that AMD is currently going to use for Ryzen 4000 required a complete like revamp of the architecture or something like that, which was really weird to hear that AMD wouldn't jump to 6 nanometers, at least for the refreshes. I mean, we got refreshes coming. The 3900 XT, 3600 XT, and 3800 XT. Intel really needs a bigger firearm ASAP to compete with AMD on the CPU side, just like AMD. Yeah, definitely. Intel really needs to show up right now, but it's not as bad as AMD and NVIDIA. No, sorry, it's worse than AMD and NVIDIA, because Intel, we know they got years to go. At least AMD, we kind of saw a glimpse last year, and this year, hopefully with Big Navi, which should be our next subject, they should be doing a lot better. With, of course, the COVID-19 lockdown, engineers can't test engineering samples. Yeah, that's true. If I recall correctly, it used to refer to gate size, but not anymore. It's just a race to the bottom. Yes, that's very important. Devin is pointing out something very important. It's the 7 nanometer is not really 7 nanometer. It's always been the case, pretty much since probably 28 nanometers. The nanometer ballpark is not really that. That's how Intel has been able to, you know, just keep on using 14 nanometers for that long a time. They were able to, you know, pack more transistor into the same die size for a while. Believe it or not, it hasn't been just an overclock since the first generation of Skylake CPUs. At the start there were a lot of optimizations, but as you went further and further down the line, it became just overclocks basically. I think we have like 5 generations of 14 nanometers, not including the 10th. All right, so you know what? Let's jump into the next topic for today, which is, oh wait, is it going to be here? What I wanted to talk about earlier? No. Okay, we're gonna jump to the next subject here, which is not that one either. Oh, this is a funny one. Thermaltake just released a AIO that works with CPUs and memory, which, you know, I'm not going to judge. If you want to water cool your RAM, it's fine. My biggest gripe, and yeah, I agree with with Tom's Hardware and Timmy Joe here, that it's pretty much something that you don't need. But what bothers me even more is this. The way it's tubed, it's basically a triangle. So you have the radiator, the CPU cooler, and the RAM. So the tubes go everywhere. Why couldn't they just have gone from the radiator to the CPU to the RAM? That would have made so much more sense. But this is just a tiny piece of frustration right here for you guys. This is a meme. I don't know what Thermaltake was thinking. Here is the next topic of news. AMD Big Navi is a Halo product. Well, that we kind of knew, right? It's the top of the line. As far as we know, Big Navi is what is going to be the biggest product. What is interesting is that most of is what has been discussed during a Bank of America Securities Global Technologies conference. Basically, during that conference, the CFO of AMD, Devinder Kumar, said a lot of things. And we're going to jump into that. I'm just going to take a look at the comments real quick because they're going by kind of fast. Is using some big, like Halo. Those are some tall words. Well, Halo is basically just a something that means flagship. So I'm not sure why this specific... why the CFO said Halo product, but Halo is more of a definition of just being a flagship product. Okay. I've read most of the comments. I'm just going to continue with what I wanted to say. So the CFO, the CFO, Devinder Kumar, said first that there's a lot of excitement for Navi 2 or Navi 2X or RDNA 2, or what our fans have dubbed as Big Navi. So, obvious statement right here. There is a lot of excitement. But that led him to say, Big Navi is a Halo product, and this will be our first RDNA-based product. So, essentially, what's happening is it's not going to be the consoles first. It's going to be desktop first, which is something that we kind of were debating, because all the hype that went into the consoles and how RDNA 2 is going to be like the cornerstone of the next gen consoles, it could have been a strategy for AMD to just say, you know what, let's start with the consoles, show everybody how well this works, and then we'll release the big chunguses out to the public for desktops. Well, this confirms that the first RDNA 2 based product is going to be Big Navi, aka for desktop. So the desktop products will come before the consoles. Let me see if there's something I missed. And that means that the launch window for Big Navi and RDNA 2 on desktop is going to be between September and October, which is pretty awesome. I thought we would have to wait until the holidays. We could have had a simultaneous we could have had a release for both of them at the same time, with consoles and the desktop cards. But this means that it's going to come out prior. Plus, yes, I saw somebody say, Devin Williams, perfect time for Cyberpunk. Definitely. And I honestly hope that AMD does one of those, super gamer packages where you get like 2 or 3 games and that Cyberpunk is included. Because my first AMD AMD graphics card I received 3 games with them. I think it was something like Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, Crisis 3, and another game, and I spent so much time on those games. They were like my first 3D games. It was a 7970, I believe, 8 gigahertz edition. That was my first GPU. But yeah, I hope they make the whole AMD Gaming Reloaded packages with Big Navi. That would be super great. AMD haven't had the resources to risk trying to compete in the high end. AMD's plan is to grow the brand and release the high end. I don't agree, simply because Big Navi is supposed to be really big. And I'm not saying that it will be able to compete with whatever Ampere will be, because obviously it seems like Ampere is humongous. I don't even understand how NVIDIA is able to push the limits that far. To what we saw, the rumors, okay? Let's be straight. These are rumors. Ampere is has 8,000 stream processors, CUDA cores. This is insane. 8,000 CUDA cores, and they were already really good, those CUDA cores. So if the 3080 Ti does have these 8,000 and some 8,000 and some CUDA cores, it's gonna blow anything. I think it's gonna blow anything AMD will have. But AMD will still be competitive, because if the 3080 Ti is that much more powerful than whatever AMD is pushing out, NVIDIA is going to feel like the king of the world and just charge you $1,500 for, or even $2,000 for a high-end GPU. And I'm not just saying that, I'm not just blowing smoke. Think about what AMD did with the 3990X. They didn't care at all. They just said, you know what? It's a 64 core. Let's sell it for 4,000. By the way, the price has dropped lately, but they're like, let's just sell it for 4,000. We don't have any other competitors. And it's not like they can't sell it for lower. They just reduced the price, like $500, or I think it was 700. But anyways, when you don't have competition in the space, you price it whatever you with whatever you, basically in what way you want. So I think that AMD is going to bring down whatever, let's say it's the 3070 and it's still insanely powerful. Big Navi is going to be able to match that, but at a lower price, because that's always been AMD's strategy, right? Just lower price and same product. Let's take a look at some of the comments in chat. So 5700, NVIDIA didn't sit around doing nothing. They probably have a warehouse full of 3080 Ti's. That's basically it. NVIDIA is just a machine. I'm personally more on the Team Red, but that's just because, it's my first love. I've always had AMD GPUs up until now. Of course, now I have a 2080. But I root for the underdog, but I do have a tiny bias towards AMD. But I have to, biased or not, you have to acknowledge that NVIDIA is absolutely killing it. AMD's ace, according to the Radeon PR guy, is that they're gonna integrate CPU and GPU over Infinity Fabric with these special features we don't know yet. Well, technically, AMD, it doesn't matter what they do. The Infinity Fabric has levels. You can say Infinity Fabric on the motherboard. You can say Infinity Fabric on a CPU between the dies, or you can say Infinity Fabric on a one die with 8 cores and 2 CCXs. Just want to make sure I say that right, because if not, people are going to roast me. But yeah, Infinity Fabric has levels, if they talk about the Infinity Fabric later and they do integrate something new in the motherboard design, I guess that would be something new. But as is, Infinity Fabric is not something magical. You started so late with gaming. Yeah, because my first actual GPU was integrated into my motherboard, and it was real bad. It was like a HD 4500, and I used to only play games like Wolf Team. If some of you guys know what Wolf Team is, it's a quality game right there. So sick of AMD trying to beat a 70 class card just because of GPU prices. It's understandable, but at the same time, it might be what like the max they can do. Remember Radeon 7? They really went in with it and they pushed as much as they could. It was a 400 watt CPU. It couldn't compete in gaming. It was a really good compute card though. But now that AMD has split CDNA for compute, so for the servers, data centers and stuff, and RDNA for gaming, then it's two different things. We all want to see where the APU market goes in the coming years. Definitely. This also, the CFO, so Devinder Kumar, that's his name, Devinder Kumar, said that essentially all RDNA 2's architecture goes through the entire stack. I had that highlighted. So basically this right here. This goes against one of the leaks we had earlier, which was that NAVI 10, so RDNA 1, would be refreshed for the lower end of the 6000 series. But I think that the wording he uses here might be different. What I'm saying here is that it's not going to be RDNA 2 through the entire stack from, let's say, the RX 6950 XT or whatever, all the way down to the lowest end of their GPUs. Hold on, is everything okay? I just want to make sure that everything works. Okay, perfect. It still says that the stream is healthy. Sorry, I had a bit of a hiccup here on my screen. But yeah, so I'm not saying, what I think he's saying is that RDNA 2 won't be on the entire stack, but it will be on the entire platform. Basically on every platform. So mobile, you're going to have straight to RDNA 2. Right now it's Vega, so it's going to skip RDNA 1, go straight to RDNA 2. That we already knew. I think he's just reiterating that. The APUs, right now they're Vega, they're going to go straight to RDNA 2. And of course, the mobile, so if you want to go into that, with RDNA being integrated into Samsung Exynos chips. Basically, Samsung has right now a partnership with AMD to use RDNA on their mobile graphics. And this is likely going to be also jumping straight to RDNA 2. Yeah, so that's what I meant. Now I'm taking a look at the chat. Some of the 5700 XT can leave 2080 Ti right now. Yeah, of course, 5700 XT is a great overclocker, which is why I personally think that the refreshes are going to sell like hotcakes. People are going to want Navi 10 still when it comes out, and because of the maturity of the process, you're going to be able to overclock that thing like crazy. Right now, at 2200 megahertz, it beats a 27... Yes, at 2200 megahertz, it beats a 2070 Super. This is insanely good performance. And I believe it only takes about 50% more power, which maybe it makes it like a 300 watt card, which is definitely power hungry, but it's also really, really great performance for the price. When you think about a RX 5700 XT, it sells for about $349 probably right now. I think I found one at $329 the last time I talked about prices for GPUs on one of the boot sequences. Are you going to talk about PS5? There's not much to talk about. Unfortunately, they have canceled their June 4th event, so we're going to have to wait to see more about the games. As for the PS5 as is, I just think we have to wait and see. As is, PlayStation puts in so much work with the company, with AMD. They put in so much work with them to create the APU essentially that's going to be on the console. It makes no sense to compare it to a desktop product. I have compared it before because it's 36 compute units of RDNA 2, and I compared it to the 5700 XT, but that's just like a really wild speculation. As is, the performance will be what it is when we see it. You're gonna have to wait for a Digital Foundries video in the holiday to know how the PS5 is. Oh, by the way, fun fact about the PS5 that I completely glossed over my mind when they were talking about it with the Cerny talk, because he basically bored me to death. Not the actual presentation, but the way he talks. Anyways, it has 36 compute units, but I'm pretty sure that it has 40. Because Cerny said that some of the compute units on the chip have been redesigned to act like SPUs. SPUs are what were in the PS3 that made it such a great CPU. It was hard to code for, but apparently the PS3 was much more powerful towards the end of its life because of the SPUs, and they're putting that into the new PS5, and they are compute units that have been modified. Whether they are a part of the 36 current compute units, I don't think so, because Cerny said that they are doing a drastically different job than the compute units that are running the graphics. So I believe that there are 40 compute units on the chip for the PS5, but 4 of them have been converted into SPUs. Anyways, this is just fun fact about the whole PS5 thing. Let's take a look at the chat right now. What do you think about Samsung and AMD teaming up? What will come out of it? I have a video on it. If you just go on my channel and type in maybe Samsung RDNA, they are absolutely killing it. The Exynos chip that was benchmarked was about twice as powerful as the, I believe it's Adreno GPU, whatever the most current Adreno GPU in a Snapdragon 865 is. That specific RDNA chip in that Samsung mobile device was killing it. A lot of B550 pricing is out there, and yes, it's going to be cheaper. Not much cheaper, but it's still going to be cheaper than X570. And if I want to upgrade, I'm definitely going for B550. Actually, no, I'm lying. I'm going to go for X B450. I don't really have a choice. It's not that I don't have a choice. It's just that they're so much less expensive. They're like $100. B550 is going to be $150. I have intermittently faulty 5700 XT. Do you recommend I buy another one? Contact AMD. They have long warranties. My CPU was defective at some point. I sent it back to them. Cost me $15 for shipping. They sent me back a new / or different one. I know it wasn't mine because I scratched mine just a little bit so I could send it out to them. So yeah. Let's move on to the next subject here. So AMD Big Navi is a Halo product, was what we talked about. And this is the same thing. Oh, another fun fact. Did you know there was a FPS for the Avengers? I had no clue. It was supposed to be released with the first Avengers movie. Here's some footage of it. It looks really weird when you have two hands in front of you in an FPS. It does not look good in my opinion. Also looks a little too zoomed in. But yeah, some footage was recently found of that specific game. And they canceled it. I mean, even if they hadn't canceled it, it still would have been a smash hit. It's the Avengers. Looks like Skyrim Spellcaster. Yeah, I think my bigger issue is the fact that it's so zoomed in. I think like the FOV must be a lot bigger. Don't most FPS have two hands? Yes, okay. You know what I meant. The guy's like this on the screen, blocking half of your view when he's attacking too, because he's going like this. Wait, where is it? Look, this is Thor. The hammer takes up so much space. Anyways, fun fact, tidbit, you guys can check it out. I'll put it in the description once I'm done editing this video. Let's go to the next one. Get your free game check. So it's Overcooked this week, which is odd because it wasn't supposed to be. This is the second time Overcooked has been on the free game for Epic Games. I actually already had it before this came out. It's a great game. I played it a lot. It's not that fun when you play alone. It's actually it's way harder when you play alone. But yeah, Overcooked, free. You can go get it. And it's Overcooked 1, not 2. So you're going to have a hard time playing with mouse and keyboard. It's going to be much better if you have a controller. Next up in the news is just the homepage. Just Video Card's homepage. Look at this. It's beautiful. At the start, when I started Boot Sequence, I really didn't want to use video cards. But 2 years later, they've been extremely reliable. It's kind of insane. Next up, Sienna Cichlid or Kichlid, the graphics card that could be Big Navi. Everybody talked about it lately. Everybody did. And honestly, it's just a name. If it could be Big Navi, great. The only thing is that it's literally just a name right now. So it's basically just saying Sienna Cichlid instead of Big Navi. The only extra information that we have from this whole leak is the dates. So when they actually when the Linux patch released with that name inside of it. So I believe it came out, what is it called? I wasn't actually planning on talking about that, but it popped up. So you can see here that Sienna Cichlid won't be inserted into the next Linux patch until August. So the stable version would consequently land in October. Basically, in October, there should be a stable version of the package for Sienna Cichlid, whatever. And in October, kind of links up with the RDNA, with the earlier rumors we were talking about, basically that RDNA 2 would come between September and October because it would come before the consoles. So this is just adding to the pile. But besides that, it's not really a big deal. It's just a name that we got. Is that a complaint? Gotta throw it. Epic giveaway games need more of this. Yeah, apparently it actually helps their sales. That's what he said. So that's great. I do have to admit that I felt bad that I got so many free games from the Epic Store that I legit bought a game off the Epic Store because I wanted it. I didn't plan on actually buying it, but I was like, you know what? Epic's giving me so much free stuff. Let me buy it. The game is super liminal. I played the whole game. It's a short game. It's a cool visual art style. Well, it's a cool visual control scheme. Like basically as close as things are. Basically, it's a perspective game. It's a great perspective game. Story lackluster. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That view looks awful. Yeah, that was about the game. It was definitely not good. What do you think about Store MI? I believe Store MI is gone. Or is it Sense MI? I believe Store MI is gone. Let me verify. Yeah, Store MI is completely no longer available for, I mean, you can still probably download it from a third party, but AMD actually stopped the downloads. Probably one, because they plan to do something new. Keep in mind, Store MI is a whole, you know, like use your SSD with your, use your SSD as part cache, and it helps with the hard drive performance and all that stuff. But AMD has been working very closely with PlayStation to create that super fast SSD. So, you know, it might have something to do with it. Maybe they're going to come out with something way more powerful than Store MI. And, you know, Store MI is now dependent of motherboard. Yeah, basically, if your motherboard, well, if your motherboard vendor still has the download link, that's great. Snows, bigger basketball or hockey fan? Either? I'll say hockey just because the Canadians, they haven't won, but I believe they still hold the record for the most Stanley Cups, but they haven't won since like 1960. I'm exaggerating, but yeah. I think that brings us to the end of the news. We've spent a good, let me just go to the side here. A good 46 minutes together. No, 32 minutes. We've spent a good 32 minutes together. Now let's talk about, let's Q&A. Let's do some Q&A. You guys must have questions. Oh, yeah, actually, before you guys ask your questions, I'm going to show you some stuff. I received some stuff to review. First of all, a Fifine microphone. Really just because it's a super cheap one. My brother's wife is going to start a podcast. And he wanted to know what would be a cheap, really good microphone. This is a USB microphone. It is very cheap. I forgot the price. But I'm going to test it out. And I'm going to give it to him afterwards. Because his wife wants to start a podcast. Isn't that great? The second thing is this bad boy. Now, I have to say I'm sorry to the company who sent me this because I haven't reviewed it yet. And I told them that I would. I'm going to. I'm planning to do a whole computer upgrade. The video title I'm working on is actually not your typical video. Not your video upgrade. What? Not your typical Not your typical computer update. And basically, I'm going to be installing this. I have some new memory. I have like a few capture cards. Basically, I'm upgrading everything but the CPU and GPU, which is going to be a fun thing to do. So yeah, the Ninja 5, huge air cooler, and hopefully it's going to give me some better temps. Really, I'm just tired of turning on my computer and hearing some water rustling every time. Sometimes it just starts doing it while it's silent in the room. So this might be an upgrade. Plus, no pumps, no failure there. Oh, the next thing. Some Wi-Fi pods. These are not Tide Pods. So, Fifine is a fine mic. Well, that's great. I'm going to review it though, okay? I'm not biased. I'm going to review it first. Hardware Canucks can't bias me. I'm kidding. They've biased me plenty of times. So, this little boy here is basically just a Wi-Fi pod system. I have one in my home right now. It is a Plume system that came with my router. Well, it didn't come with it. I have to pay like $7 a month for it. There's 4 pods, I believe. They're scattered across the house. Problem is, my brothers who live downstairs are still very, very low. They have really bad internet speed, basically. And hopefully, this TP-Link thing might fix it. They look much bigger. If size is any indication, then this will be better. But I'll still have to test it out. Hopefully, when I have this installed, I'll be able to go outside and use Wi-Fi. And last but not least, this is going to be a part of the whole setup upgrade. So I'm actually going to do a setup upgrade. We got this boy here. Right now the box is empty, but it's basically an LED projector. It's a super cheap one. Honestly, if this is going to be, when I review this, it's worth it, you guys should buy it. I mean, wait for the review, please. But it's like $300, and it's 1080p native, the actual resolution. That's something that's pretty important. I'm going to talk about it during the video, but it's 1080p, and it goes up to 300 inches, something like that. We'll take a look at it when we review it. So let's go for the questions. This is the Shroud stream? No, it's not. What are you saying? All right, so questions. You think they would, let me start. You think they would include such a memory controller in Zen 4? What do you, oh, you mean like a faster memory controller? It would have to be a storage controller because they're talking about the SSDs, right? PS5, the whole thing is about the SSDs. If they have a really weird memory controller that does caching for the SSD, that would basically be a PS5, sort of. Next, what other question do you even? I do, but I can't even. That's the difference. Going down. Do you have any love for ITX and small form factor? I absolutely love it. I actually plan on making a video on the Intel NUC. No, I will not have received it from Intel because, you know, I have 36,000 subscribers. I'm not going to receive anything from Intel. But Intel NUC, I'm going to try it out and see if I can find a really fun use for it. So stay tuned for that. What mechanical switches do you prefer? The loudest one possible. I have currently, I'm going to do a little test in the chat here. You guys can probably hear that. Those are Kale Blues, the loudest, and I just really like the tactile bump. It's like super hard, and I love it. What do you think of OneOsmo's power plan for Ryzen? I've actually never used it. I'm still stuck with the 1700X, so I can't really test any of the new stuff because it's old. But it does the job so far for now. I mean, right now my CPU is pinned because I'm streaming, but it still does the job very, very nicely. What are your thoughts on B550? I think I've given them before, but basically they might be a little more expensive. Personally, I'm a cheap dude, so I would get the B450, and I'll try to go for an Asus one because I had an MSI one once and it broke, and it basically just is going to be something, you know, if you buy a motherboard from a company and it breaks, I'm not saying this company is no good. All I'm saying is that personally, in my purchase philosophies, I just won't buy from that brand anymore, for motherboards specifically. It was an MSI board. It was dead on arrival. I got a Asus one. It worked fine. I got a MSI GPU though. Basically, don't hate the brand. I hate having to say that because it's like, you know, it's just normal. My ears, you broke them? Oh, because I tapped my microphone, I think. I'm sorry if I did that. Zeal PC Xylent V2 switches. Maybe. I'll have to try it out. Right now, I'm using a cheap keyboard from Amazon. This thing is like, oh, I'm sorry. This is going to hurt your ears. I'm using like a cheap white keyboard from Amazon, Eagle Tech. It's great. I love it. My first one actually broke after about a year and a half. So I just bought another one. It broke because of me. I keep spilling my drinks on my keyboards, which is not a great thing to do. Ça bouge pas, MSI. Ghost P said that. That's French, meaning it doesn't move, MSI. Also, the title of a song from a guy called La Fouine. Don't look it up. It's French rap. You're not going to like it. Unless you're French. Aren't there jade keycaps or something? Maybe. I'm not a big aficionado for keyboards. You should ask the people at Hardware Canucks, though. Honestly, I've never seen such keyboard nerds. Every time I go see them, they have a pile of keyboard. They all look really good, really crispy, clean. You can see all of the keycaps. You know, you have some of them that are like pastel, orange, gray, black. All three, Mike, Eber, and Dimitri, have like a Hardware Canucks themed keyboard. It looks so good. If you guys are still there, you should sell that keyboard. Talk to the company. It looks so good. You should just sell it. I would buy it. Yeah, Asus is very reliable. Yes, indeed. What a beat of CPU. By the way, somebody gave a donation and I missed it. Damn, I saw it, but then I missed it. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I have it right here. Adam Burdick. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Just because you make good videos. It's greatly appreciated. We're working on producing that keyboard. See? And they didn't tell me anything about this. I just said it like that. Let's get him to make some music with that guitar. One of the strings is broken. I'm sorry. There's a guitar behind me. Yeah, right there. I left it in the shed for a winter. Came back all rusted. I took it, started strumming. Ding, ding, ding. All of the strings started to break. Willow Jiggy. Yeah, okay. When I was a child, he was a good artist. And we have another super chat from Mark Ostvin. I probably butchered that. Your videos are great. Go buy some coffee. Can you please say Van Gogh with the Dutch pronunciation? Van Gogh? Sorry, I don't know how to say it. I'm really sorry. I'll try to add it to one of the black screens at the end of a video. I often do things like that. It's pretty cool. Getting frustrated with when Tom says Van Gogh. Van Gogh? Maybe? 5 strings, banjo tuning. There are no questions here, guys. I want the questions. Oh, is it because I'm doing top chat instead of live chat? That's a possibility. Serious question though, why does no one talk about the MSI Creation X570 motherboard? Personally, because it's an X570. It's way above my price range. But let me take a look at it real quick. Copy. You can hear my keyboard very loudly. That's the beauty of blue switches. Wow, that's a very cute. Let me put it over there for you guys to see. It looks great. Man, this is trippy. But yeah, it looks great. If you were talking about what's inside it, I really don't know. That would have to look into it. Let's go back to the chat. Do you play Valorant now, or are you still torturing yourself with Overwatch? I'm planning on trying Valorant. I know it's free now. I haven't tried it out. It seems like I'm not going to like it that much. I had a small phase where I liked CSGO, and a huge phase where I liked Overwatch. So I still like it sometimes, Overwatch. So if it's in between, maybe I'll have like a medium phase where I like Valorant. It's just I don't like having to aim. And you don't have to aim on Overwatch. Okay, I already answered that. I like that board, man. It's expensive. Yeah, it probably will be. Are you going to have your... Have you heard the news about the 3980X anniversary edition from Joe? I'm not sure. And I hope this is not a Joe Mama joke. Are you going to have your own merch in the future? Very likely, something like this, because everybody's been asking me about these since literally the inception of boot sequence. So this probably going to be something like that, or maybe it's going to be a joint venture, but you'd have to wait to see. Are PCIe 3 SSDs as fast as any consumers will ever need? It's all in the air right now, simply because PS5 and Xbox One X, they've talked up their SSDs so much. We're gonna have to wait where technology goes, not just the SSDs, because yeah, they can get faster and faster, but it seems like game developers might want to go with a more memory intensive thing, like a game like Anthem that could have been great, but is one of its worst part is the fact that the loading times and sort of the loading zones and the crashing that occurs, and then you have to come back and load again. These kinds of things can ruin a game. If you watched Angry Joe's review about it, that was one of his biggest gripes. So if game developers are pushing towards having a completely non-loading gameplay experience, then SSDs are going to be very important. I think at some point, and no jokes, this is a little bit like what has been said last year, that at some point, some games will require ray tracing capabilities inside of your computer. I think that if things are pushed in that direction with SSDs, in the PS5 direction, that at some point you will be required to have an SSD in your computer for you to be able to run a game, which would be very, very fun. Well, not fun. I just mean like it's going to be cool to see that evolve. Do you think NVIDIA and AMD are overhyping their new GOU? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that term. Oh, it was probably a typo for GPU? No, not yet. We won't know until we know. It's a kind of a cop-out answer, but still, we won't know until we know. Okay. Do you know a similar screen as MSI Optics G? I don't know that screen, unfortunately. But if you want a USB hub, just buy one and stick it behind the screen. That's what I would do. I've probably done that before. They'll release a good product. They rely on their branding. All right, a few more questions, guys. Now you guys are talking to each other, which is great. But I just have to decipher through all of that. What's your opinion on up to marketing? I don't mind it as long as it does the up to what I in the optimal conditions. For example, with AMD, the up to at the start with their boost clock, it was up to 4.7 gigahertz. The problem was there was an issue within the AGESA version or whatever that caused it not to hit that for a lot of people. So, and they fixed that issue. So now the up to is really up to. I mean, sure, if you're in the desert and you're just pointing a fan at your PC without any air conditioning, it's not going to be able to reach those clocks. But I believe that if you pick up a AMD CPU right now and you're in optimal condition, like a 20-degree room, you're going to be able to and a good cooler, of course, you're going to be able to reach those temperatures pretty well. Keep in mind, the 3950X at first, when it was introduced, was marketed with a 240, I think it was a 240 millimeter AIO. So for people who are using, let's say, just a Hyper 212 Evo on their 3950X, okay, I'm not exaggerating that much. If they were using a what's a good cooler that's not that great, like just a big cooler as is. It's normal if it wouldn't reach the 4.7 gigahertz turbo clock on the one core. But they've always been clear that it was single core and that the rest would taper down. Do you think after all this shut down, they will raise prices on products? No, I don't think so. Maybe in brick and mortar stores, because, you know, they had a very, very large portion of time without selling anything, and then they might have to do like small markups, but I don't think online retailers would do that. Do you think that after all, I already read that. What games do you currently play? I actually been trying to play more games. That's definitely something that I have been considering. I still play a lot of Overwatch. I've played a lot of the free games from, was it Amazon or was it Epic Games? I play a lot of the Epic Games one. Let me open up my Epic Game Launcher. Hopefully I won't leak my email like PewDiePie. Just give me a second. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm not signed in. And if I click sign in with Google, I think it's going to go on the screen and I'm going to leak my email. Actually, I still have to try. Oh, okay, phew. It opened on another Chrome tab. Yes. And continue. And I have been successfully logged in. Doesn't seem to work. No, there you go. So I have a lot of games from the free Epic stuff. That's for sure. And currently in my library, the ones that I've played and that I want to keep playing, Anodyne 2. It's a kind of Legends of Zelda type game, and I really like single player games. So this one I played quite a bit. Superliminal, like I said, I finished. Fortnite, I don't play that thing. Overcooked, I've played a lot. Celeste, I've played a lot. Celeste is super fun. It's just, it gets frustrating at some point. And you don't even try to play it with a keyboard and mouse. Besides that, I want to try Soma. I want to try FTL. I want to play World War Z. That was a real surprise when it came out, and it was free. So that game definitely I want to try it out. But I need to wait. And the Borderlands, the prequel that I haven't played, and I want to replay through Borderlands 2. Is it the prequel? No, it's the pre-sequel. That's it. Yeah. So the pre-sequel and replay through Borderlands 2. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I want to stream that game so bad because I am really, I'm a scaredy cat. I'm a tiny, tiny scaredy cat. Clip that and post it on Twitter. Who's your main hero in Overwatch and what rank are you? So I was Diamond and I stopped playing and I'm sorry, I think I'm gonna, loud noise, sorry. And I'm currently using a mouse. I used to use my G700S, the best mouse I've ever had, but all of a sudden the scroll wheel is basically stuck down, so I can't do anything with it anymore. And since then, I've dropped down to, is it silver? No, it's gold, 2000 SR. Because the new mouse is absolutely terrible. 3D modeling 12. AVX 12 is for AI deep learning stuff. You can find 1080 Ti's on eBay for around $500. I think that's kind of expensive for a 1080 Ti. Yeah, I think it's actually really expensive for a 1080 Ti. You should get a 5700 XT if you're considering a 1080 Ti. Because you're going to save a whole lot of money. You can overclock it and get pretty much about the same performance. Maybe not exactly the same performance, but close enough. $200? That's savings. Metro Exodus. I don't have it. That's the thing. It's because the demand is high still, and if they are still worth their money. Yeah. Do you think the hype is gone for VR? Seems like the wind is out of their sails. No, I think more and more people are going to use VR in the future. I've just always been a fan of the technology. I have I don't have it anymore. I lent it to a friend because he had the space to play. I have my first gen retail Oculus Rift. And I also have here a Windows MR headset because I found it for 99 bucks. So I was like, hey, I'm going to get that. And whenever I need to use it for VR, I will. I tried playing a game with the full 1600 DPI and could not control it. Oh, wow. Okay. What difference DPI makes? Just makes your mouse move faster. Actually, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's it. It's literally dumb to run at that DPI. Kinda. I want to play Phoenix Point. Do you? I've never played Phoenix Point. All right. I think... Did you talk about the new EGS? Yes, I did. The Epic Game Store free game. I have talked about it. And it looks like we've spent a very nice afternoon with each other. Has it really been? Oh, it's almost an hour. I got 6 minutes. Let's talk a little bit about I don't know. Ask me questions that I can maybe develop into. How do you feel about Ryzen for audio and video workstations? Amazing, amazing. I haven't tried Intel in a very long time. One of the reasons why I want to try out the Intel NUC is to give it a sort of A to B comparison. Because I've had issues, real issues with my computer, but I don't know if it's memory related. I don't know if it's CPU related, because Ryzen first gen was very, very finicky with the memory, and I still don't have proper Ryzen memory inside of my computer. So yeah, basically I have to do an A to B testing. But for me, audio, I have no issues with Ryzen at all. Video, like I said, I'm using Vegas. It's terrible when I'm using when I'm using either Premiere, After Effects, or Resolve. It also works very, very well. It never crashed in either of those. I mean, After Effects crashed once, but I think I had like 100 tabs open and it basically just tanked. I'm using Reason, by the way, for audio. Reason and Ableton whenever Ableton is necessary, but Reason mostly. So propeller head Reason. Let me show you what it looks like. It's a very, very unorthodox DAW. This is what it looks like. Believe it or not, I understand about 97% of what's happening here on the screen. If you take a look at this. It's, wow. Click on it, it becomes smaller. This is the most IQ 1000 IQ 1000 website design. You click on it and it gets smaller. Do you think the hype? Oh, I already read that one. Do you like Saints Row? Yeah, it's a game. Hello, 8LEC Row. Have a great day. How would you compare upcoming launch hype for RTX 3000 and Zen 3 compared to the launches from their predecessors in terms of intensity? Ryzen 3000 was the biggest thing that I've seen in the last 2 years that I've been doing boot sequence. Not big in terms of the actual product. I mean, sure, the products were amazing, but the hype, oh man, you guys should have remembered. I felt bad for giving some pretty sketchy info. In the end, with the 3950X, it kind of rounded itself out because we were sort of looking towards having up to 16 cores. And at the start, it made no sense. There were a lot of talks of 5 gigahertz, but honestly, it got close enough, 4.7 gigahertz. That was great. But anyways, it was basically the most hype. I think one of the most popular videos I made, besides the Ryzen memory guide, besides that specific video, the early Ryzen 3000 videos were some of the most popular. Now it's the Ryzen refreshes and big Navi videos that are literally the most popular. I think they both got something like 50,000 views on each. Do you play any Sekiro? Thinking about getting it? No, I'm not into Sekiro specifically. Looking at this interface. You mean this one? It's okay. Here, that's even better. Do you know a similar screen as MSI? What? Feels like I did a complete 180. Did I go all the way up? Why don't you play Steam? I have a lot of Steam games. I have a lot. I have GTA 5 on Steam. I have other games. It's just really... Yeah, no, I play Steam. Wherever the game is cheap, I'll buy it there. If it's cheaper on Steam, I'll buy it on Steam. If it's cheaper on Epic Game Store, I'll buy it there. Believe it or not, if it's cheaper on the Amazon Games app. Yes, Amazon has their own launcher now. Before, it used to be mixed in with Twitch, the Twitch launcher on PC, and now it's its own thing called Amazon Games. Absolutely horrible design. It does not look good, but they got free games too, and some cool discounts sometimes. Might have missed this before in the 6 months I've been watching, but were you doing live streams before? Yes, I used to do live streams last year. I only did two. Plus, we did 2 Black Friday streams. The last one, unfortunately, I had to get off the channel. It was just way too horrible because we were not prepared. But I do a Hardware Canucks Black Live. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. I do a Hardware Canucks Black Friday live stream every year, and yeah, we just discuss stuff. We talk about the products. Sometimes we even go to IKEA on their online store because people need desks. I certainly need a new one because this one is really old, scratched up, and I plan on building my own. So stay tuned for that. I actually have to go pick up stuff from Home Depot tomorrow, some clamps for the wood to make the top of the desk because it's all part of the whole studio revamp thing. I was referring to the interface of the DAW. I don't know. YouTube's chat is acting weird. Oh, yeah. The DAW is definitely a very intense one. Still running audio. Do you think motherboard prices are climbing as high as GPU prices have? No. Motherboards have always... In the last 10 years that I've been making PCs, I think that the prices have been the same pretty much all along. You have your $500 motherboard for some reason. You have your $70 motherboard. Well, more like $80 motherboards, and you have the $130. The 80s are most of the time the refurbished ones, which personally I like to buy because they're cheaper. But yeah, Ice Lake introduced AVX 512 support. Has any compiler made use of such instruction set yet? Not sure actually, because AVX 512 is not really something that we use right now, is it? And because the clock on sorry, and because what is likely to happen for AMD, like they did with AVX 256, I believe, is they're just going to run 2 AVX 256s or 4 AVX 128 instructions to run a AVX 512 instruction. 12 Snows Canadian? G12? Oh, yeah, I'm Canadian. I'm a Canada boy. And I'm from Quebec. La maison de la poutine. No, pas la maison. I want to say the home of poutine in French, but la maison, which literally translates to the home, doesn't really make sense. La province de la poutine. The province of poutine. That makes sense. Thanks for answering. No problem. Which one of the PC leaks that came out recently do you think is fake? The 5nm plus Zen 3. Doesn't make sense to me. Does not compute. I don't think this is going to happen simply because AMD literally, the CFO confirmed that Zen 3 would be coming out this year. And for them to have done a complete 180 and drop down to 5nm plus for an entire lineup, I don't think so. If we go through the year without seeing Zen 3, then it's a possibility. They have the worst French I've ever heard. Bah, ça dépend. It depends. I can do the accent of French, and I can do the accent of Canadian French, so it doesn't really matter. Is the GTX 1650 Super worth getting, or should you save more to get something like a 2060 KO? If the price difference is $30, go for the KO. 5nm is probably going to be in 2021. That's kind of what it's supposed to be. L'Acadie, this... I'm going to stop talking about languages, but L'Acadie has a really weird French. It's basically the Scottish English of French. What's your opinion on Apple products? I worked there for 4 years. Great product, great design. Horrible right to repair. Not just from Louis Rossman's point of view. I worked there. I was temporarily a genius. I then switched to a different post, which I preferred. I was teaching people. Anyways, I was a genius for a small amount of time. And the number of times that it was something that could have been fixed right then and there, but that we had to say, I'm sorry, but we have to replace the whole display casing. It's going to cost you, I don't know, $1,500. Has happened so many times, and the response you get from the customer sometimes they cry, sometimes they're super upset, and we can't do anything besides just say, I understand what you mean. Like, I want to say, no, I get it, it's dumb. But all I have to say is, like, I understand your feelings, but unfortunately, this is it, $1,500. Give me cash so Papa Tim Apple can get what he needs. Will the 8700K and 1090 Ti still hold up after the next gen consoles are released? Probably. The 8700K is discontinued though. Well, I mean, it's not like you're going to buy a new one right now. Genius unsubbed. Temporarily, okay? Norwegian iPhone repairer lost to Apple in Norwegian. I think that in that specific case, that Norwegian man, it's just a matter of there was a copyright thing because the parts that he was buying apparently had the Apple logo and it wasn't scraped off when he returned it. It's basically, it came down to technicality. But yeah, he got sued and he got a problem. He got an issue. I'm in Saint-Jérôme, Quebec. Hey, what's up, man? Zani Dreamer. I'm right down there in Montreal. Right to repair isn't getting any help. No, it's not. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for today's live stream. I have everything set up now. We can do live streams more often. Before, the issue was that the camera was back there, so I had to be not facing my PC, so I had to find a way to read the comments and everything. But right now, I got quite a nice setup. You see the lights, the RGB LED. I got my light up here that's lighting my face, another one over there that's bouncing the light. Got the camera right next to my computer. This is a great setup. So there's a high likelihood that this is going to be a thing, maybe even a bi-weekly thing. I don't want to commit to weekly because it's me and it's not going to happen, but it's going to be great. I hope we do that over and over again. Today we had something like 250 viewers in the middle of the show, which is absolute boggles my mind. And we've sat at about 150 of you guys jamming with me, which is really cool. So yeah, we're probably going to do this again very soon, and this time you guys can actually hold me accountable. I'm going to do it. Yes, 100%. So you guys have a great day, great night. Here it's 5 p.m. I really don't know how to finish a live stream. I'm going to do it like I usually do with the videos. I have like this script and I've said it so many times. It's ingrained into my brain. So let's do it. And that's pretty much it for the news, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed. As usual, you can click right here to see the latest video right here to subscribe to the channel. Stay frosty, my dudes, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. And I'm going to play the outro.
Rolling them dices, I love it, I'm rolling them dices, I love it, I love it.